Peter Creel. He started by calling Afriforum a puppet, a 22-year-old self-described human rights activist who came from absolutely nowhere. He just appeared, believe it or not, somehow ended up at a Black Business Summit in China, a summit for Black business people, the white guy in there. And then he decided his life's mission is to be, I quote, the most agreeable white man in South Africa. He went on his own podcast with Carl Niehaus. We will get to Carl Niehaus, that imbecile. And then this imbecile called Afriforum a Washington-backed puppet group. We are going to establish today, clearly with evidence, exactly why Peter Creel is a puppet, why he is an industry plant, and why he is wrong. So now we're also going to talk about what Creel represents as a media industry phenomenon, because Peter Creel is everything wrong with today's industry. Second, we've got Carl Niehaus, an Afrikaner, anti-apartheid hero, convicted fraudster, EFF member of parliament, a man who forged the signatures of 4 government ministers, 4, falsely claimed his sister died to get a plane ticket, falsely claimed he had leukemia to get a free holiday, accumulated over 4.4 million rand in debt, was expelled from the ANC after 43 years, and is now supporting a party that sings "Kill the Boer, kill the farmer," kill his own people on camera, cheerfully. And he supports this. We need to talk about this. Third, Marikas Boros, the ghost in the machine. This is a journalist who has been pulling a very strange thread at the University of Cape Town. And that is a story involving ghost emails, board coups, a 56-year-old museum that was shut down in secret. We've got accusations of lying under oath. We've got fiduciary breaches and a governance scandal that the mainstream media has almost completely ignored. UCT is dying. There is something very wrong in that university. I'm going to talk about it as well. 3 stories, 3 bangers. Let's go. Subscribe if you haven't. Wherever you are in South Africa watching this, I wanted to say, welcome back to the only channel that says what nobody else will say, because people are just way too afraid of outside opinion. So before we get into today's episode, and it is a big one, I just wanted to quickly add on to the fact that I don't get any sponsors. You know why I don't get sponsors. I say uncomfortable things to powerful people. And corporations don't enjoy that. They want to shove money up influencers' backsides. So if you say what you want, they can't support you. So if this channel has ever made you think or ever made you angry in a productive manner to want change in your country, there is a link in the description below where you can donate. A simple donation, you can just buy me a coffee. It's all I'm asking. Not something big, because I do understand that if we want to keep this channel going, we will need to maintain that activeness so that it doesn't get shut down. So let's get into it. Starting with none other than your favorite influencer. All the Facebook moms will love the fact that I'm talking about him, Peter Creel. Let me introduce you properly to him, because most of you watching this have seen the name at one. I know you've ran into his face some stage on social media, but you don't know the full picture and you don't know how on earth he got there. I'll give you the full picture, and I promise you it is more revealing than anything he has ever said about Afriforum as the fake hero he claims to be. Peter Adrian Creel was born on the 2nd of March 2004. 22 years old, so he's 2 years older than me. He's from Heidelberg, he's white, he's Afrikaans, he's self-described as a human rights activist and a political commentator, right? His words, not mine, right? He's this big hero. This is a 22-year-old man who became politically active in 2018 at the age of 14, after becoming an atheist, which is the worst thing ever, and deciding to question all systems of power. At 14 years old, I was playing video games and PlayStation. He was questioning systems at power at an age when most of us were questioning whether to do our homework and to watch the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. At 20 years old, 2025, he was being invited to travel to Palestine to document human rights violations, right? He was appearing on mainstream media platforms. He was being profiled by big news companies like IOL, Times Live, Briefly News, Newsroom Africa, SABC, somehow, and I want you to sit with this word, somehow, guys, listen to this, listen, a 22-year-old with no formal qualifications, no academic credentials, no elected position, no organizational base, no track record of building anything, just came out of nowhere and started being treated as a legitimate political voice at a level that most serious commentators spend decades working to achieve. When you started knowing about him, he was already on every news channel. And then the piece de resistance. He was invited to a Black Business Summit in China. A summit specifically designed and convened for Black business people who need help and want to improve their businesses, their business prospects, and expand their networks internationally. Black business people, and Peter Creel was there. What is a white guy doing in there? Now, I want to be fair. Maybe he was there in a specific capacity. Maybe he was invited to speak about something particular, right? Maybe there is a perfectly reasonable explanation for why a 22-year-old white Afrikaner from Heidelberg with zero business credentials was at a Black Business Summit in China, and why he just popped out of nowhere and was all of a sudden everywhere. But nobody explained this, and every time I asked, it looked like I was the meanie. There's no papers showing any record of Peter Creel before he turns 14 years old and is all of a sudden the voice of resistance and starts appearing on every news channel. Peter Creel appeared on his own podcast, which has failed, with Carl Niehaus, a man we will get to shortly, a man whose credibility I will address in the next segment. And then Peter Creel declared that Afriforum is a puppet, specifically a Washington-backed lobby group operating in South Africa. That's what he said. He said Afriforum is a puppet of American interests. Now, I'm going to ask you the question I always ask. Where is the evidence? Where is the evidence, Peter Creel? Because here's what Afriforum actually is. From evidence, Afriforum is a civil society organization with over 300,000 paying members, the largest of its kind in South Africa. They go to court. They win cases. They exposed corruption in municipalities. They fought the Bella Act, then that's the reason why we are fighting against it, because of them. They pushed back on name changes that communities didn't want. They are the ones who took Malema to court. They have been to Washington, yes. They lobbied, they made arguments. That's what civil rights society organizations do, believe it or not. The ANC has lobbied in Washington. COSATU has lobbied in Washington. The EFF has sought international solidarity from organizations in the United States and the UK. Lobbying a foreign government is not puppetry, it is politics. South Africa is full of organizations doing exactly this. But here is what makes Peter Creel's specific position so fascinating and so full of crap. Peter Creel positions himself as the antithesis of Afriforum. Not my words, his. He's using big English. He said in a social media post, "I'm not related to Carl Creel. I'm his antithesis. I don't fight for preservation. I fight for transformation. I don't romanticize apartheid. I want to bury it, even though it ended 31 years ago." Fine. That's political position, right? Everybody has a right to their opinions. You can hold on to it. But let me ask you something real quick, Peter. Peter Creel, you said that white South Africans make up 7% of the population, 7%, and control 70% of the country's resources, and that the real issue is not violence, but it's resistance to equality. That is a political argument, right? Maybe you think you're partially correct. You may be partially correct. But you also said that the 49 Afrikaners who left for America were not fleeing racial persecution, but were fleeing equality. Fleeing equality. Not fleeing the farmer tax. Not fleeing the economic uncertainty and BEE racist laws. Not fleeing a complicated set of personal circumstances. Fleeing equality. You, a 22-year-old white man with no farm, no family affected by farmer tax, no skin in that specific game, you decided you know why those families left, right? Because you're the expert here. Like that's what I'm trying to figure out. You're supposed to be the expert here. Sorry, let me adjust my camera while I verbally break you down. So a guy like you with no experience in those spaces, you think you can talk for all those white families and racial minority families who left, right? It was because they couldn't handle equality. Peter Creel, that is not political commentary. You are nothing but a 22-year-old performing radicalism for an audience that doesn't give a flying sandwich about you. And here's what bothers me most about you, Peter Creel. Not your politics, not your age. It's not even your mysterious presence at a Black Business Summit in China. What bothers me most about someone like Peter Creel, it is the media industry that created him. You are the perfect product of mainstream media. You are the poster boy of legacy media. You are everything wrong with today's news and propaganda. Think about it. Think about what it takes for a 22-year-old white man with no formal credentials, no track record. All of a sudden, he becomes this nationally recognized political commentator out of nowhere in less than 3 years. That does not happen organically. That requires platforms, invitations, access. The reason why I rose so fast is because I was nothing but a YouTuber who was uploading my opinion on YouTube. You, sir, had no YouTube channel. In fact, there is no record of you before you turn 22 years old, before you turn 14 years old, and all of a sudden, at 19 and 20 years old, you're invited to every news interview. You're invited to Palestine. You're talked about by IOL. You're already this recognized political commentator with zero qualification. That does not happen organically. What you have achieved in such a short time requires platforms like YouTube, like what I'm doing. It requires invitations, access. Someone decided, or multiple people decided, that this specific young white man with zero qualifications, with specific progressive politics was worth amplifying. And they all amplified you. They all pushed you out of nowhere. My question is why? I will tell you what I think. I think Peter Creel is an industry plant that is useful to certain media establishments and political formations, because someone like Peter Creel proves something provides something very valuable, rather, not proves, he provides something very valuable. A white voice that criticizes white interests, that turns black supremacists on. It's a turn on, because he's a white man who calls out South Africans, right? He's the white guy supporting the black guys, right? He's the white guy that understands, right? See, guys, I understand black pain. I'm one of you. Look at me. I'm with the black people, right? It would be dismissed as racial politics if a black commentator said them. So they need this white piece. They need this white test piece to talk about it. Peter Creel provides political cover. He's too perfect. He's safe. He's too polished. He's too rehearsed. He provides, you see, even white people agree with the black people. He provides that argument. So he is a tool. Peter Creel is a tool, not necessarily knowingly, maybe he does, or necessarily maliciously, but Peter Creel is a tool of mainstream media nonetheless.